If you feel like spending all day in your bed, then I have some news for you. You're going through a crucial phase in your life. You wake up with that weight on your chest again, not sadness, not stress, just a strange heaviness that makes your whole being want to stay exactly where you are. And before you even open your eyes, you already know today feels different. Most people ignore this feeling. They rush past it, judge it, or try to shake it off like something's wrong with them. But the truth is, this heaviness doesn't show up for everyone. And if you've been feeling it almost every morning, that means something inside you is trying to get your attention. And it's doing it in the only way it knows you'll actually stop and listen. You've been blaming yourself for the wrong thing. Most people instantly label this heaviness as laziness, burnout, or a lack of motivation. You tell yourself you're falling behind, that you're not doing enough, that something must be wrong with you. But what if that judgment is the very thing blocking the message underneath? Because this feeling isn't a shutdown, it's a redirection. It's your psyche pulling energy away from the things that drain you and pulling it towards something you haven't fully understood yet. You think you're losing energy, but in reality, your energy is being held back on purpose. And the reason why your mind is doing this, the real reason you can't push through it like you used to, is about to make this entire experience make sense in a way you've never heard before. You think you've reached the end, but this is just where the deeper life begins. If you've been lying there day after day wondering what happened to you, you're not alone. That quiet panic that creeps in when you realize you don't feel like yourself anymore, it's real. And it can get loud. Maybe you've been thinking, what if I'm stuck like this forever? What if this is just who I am now? Maybe part of you is worried that people will think you've fallen behind or that you've stopped trying. Or maybe you're looking at your own reflection wondering, I used to have energy. I used to be me. Where did I go? Let me tell you something that your mind hasn't been able to say to you clearly. You are not broken. You haven't failed. You haven't lost yourself. You're in a chapter that feels slow and heavy, but a chapter is all it is. And chapters don't define the whole story. Not yours, not anyone's. There are people who have been exactly where you are right now. People who felt this same heaviness, this same stillness, this same fear that something inside them had shut down permanently. They survived it. They outgrew it. And they moved into a life that made this chapter make sense in hindsight. Most of them just never told anyone what they went through. I know it's unsettling when your body no longer wants to cooperate with your plans, when your mind feels foggy and distant, when you can't even remember what it felt like to wake up excited or clear. But the truth is simple. Your soul isn't giving up on you. It's trying to guide you toward a deeper part of yourself that you wouldn't have discovered any other way. And the heaviness you feel right now, it's not the end of you. It's the beginning of something that hasn't shown its face yet. Because what you're going through has meaning. A meaning that your mind hasn't caught up to yet. This is the moment right before everything changes, and your body knows it. There's a reason the urge to lie down gets the strongest right before something big shifts inside you. Your mind might not have the words for it, but your body feels it first. You're not collapsing. You're pausing on the exact edge where one version of you ends and another version begins. That edge is the threshold. Your spirit is rearranging things behind the scenes, and your body is trying to keep you grounded long enough for that rearrangement to finish. It's like being asked to stand still before walking into a place you're not ready to enter just yet. And yes, the confusion is part of the process. The blankness, the uncertainty, the feeling that everything around you looks the same, but nothing feels the same. That's what it's like right before clarity breaks through, right before your inner world realigns, right before something in you finally clicks. You're not at the end of your path, you're at the doorway. And even if you can't see what's waiting for you on the other side, the heaviness you feel is telling you exactly where you are, the prelude to a turning point. Your body knows it, your spirit knows it, and you're about to know it too. The body speaks long before the mind is willing to listen. There's a point in every person's life where the body becomes the spokesperson for everything the conscious mind has been avoiding. It doesn't argue, it doesn't negotiate, it doesn't try to convince you logically, it simply reacts. And the reaction often shows up as heaviness, fatigue, or that strange resistance to doing even the simplest things. It's not weakness, it's not failure, it's the most ancient communication system you have. People forget that the body picks up on emotional truths long before we fully admit them to ourselves. It knows when you're forcing yourself into environments you've outgrown. It knows when your priorities have shifted internally, but your daily life hasn't caught up. It knows when something around you is draining your spirit, even if your mind is trying to stay polite, patient, or responsible. And when the truth becomes too big to ignore, the body becomes louder. This is why so many people feel physical heaviness instead of emotional clarity. The unconscious doesn't whisper in English, it speaks through signals. When you feel that urge to lie down for hours, or when even lifting your arm feels like moving a brick, that's your body trying to translate what the deeper parts of you already understand. It's trying to get your attention in the only way that guarantees you'll pause long enough to hear it. The hardest part is that most people blame themselves immediately. They think, "Why am I like this? What's wrong with me?" But nothing is wrong. The body is doing exactly what it was designed to do: protect the parts of you that have been neglected or ignored. When it senses that your life, your direction, or your energy is out of sync, the body slows everything down so you stop running on autopilot. It's not sabotaging you, it's safeguarding you. Your body keeps repeating one message. Something inside you needs attention, and you're not meant to keep moving until you face it. And if you've been feeling that for days or weeks, that means there's something your soul refuses to let you overlook anymore. The body isn't your enemy, it's the messenger of your unconscious truth. Tiredness is often the first sign that your life and your values no longer match. There's a very particular kind of exhaustion that has nothing to do with sleep. It shows up even when you've rested, even when you've taken breaks, even when you've done everything you're supposed to do to recover. And that's because this tiredness doesn't come from physical strain. It comes from living a life that no longer reflects who you are becoming. When your outer world drifts away from your inner truth, the body feels it instantly. If you're staying in a routine that drains you, your energy collapses. If you're holding on to habits that don't feel aligned anymore, your motivation disappears. If you're carrying responsibilities or relationships that don't resonate with your growth, your spirit gets heavier every day. You don't choose it consciously, it just happens. Your energy refuses to power a life that doesn't match your evolution. Most people don't realize how deeply this misalignment affects the body. When you're forcing yourself forward while your soul is pulling in another direction, the tiredness becomes constant. You start feeling disconnected from things that used to excite you. You lose that spark. You feel like you're performing a version of yourself instead of actually living as yourself. This kind of exhaustion is the soul's way of saying, you can't keep pretending this is your path. And it's powerful because it doesn't ask you to analyze anything yet. It simply stops giving energy to the parts of your life that aren't true to you. That's why you can lie down all day and feel nothing but emptiness. Or you can push yourself to be productive and still feel drained. The energy isn't gone. It's withheld, waiting for something real to return to. Being misaligned doesn't mean you're broken. It means you're changing. It means something inside you isn't willing to tolerate a life that doesn't feel honest anymore. That's why the heaviness hits so hard. That's why your drive disappears. That's why light tasks suddenly feel impossible. Because your energy wants to go somewhere else, somewhere you haven't said yes to yet. And until you acknowledge that shift, your body will keep slowing you down, because it knows that once you catch up with your own truth, everything will start moving again. When this heaviness hits you, your instinct might be to resist it, to push against it, to try and force yourself back into the rhythm you think you're supposed to have. But fighting it only intensifies the weight. One of the most powerful things you can do right now is shift the way you interpret the urge to lie down. Instead of seeing it as something shameful or inconvenient, see it as sacred, as a moment your soul is asking for your full attention. When the urge shows up, don't run from it. Give yourself permission to pause. Sit with the feeling for a moment before you even lie down. Ask yourself, what is this moment trying to show me? You'd be surprised at how much clarity surfaces when you stop judging the experience and start listening to it. Before your body sinks into that rest, turn it into something intentional. Cover your eyes. Take a slow breath that drops you back into your center. Say quietly or silently, I'm open to the message. That simple act turns a collapse into a ceremony. And when you treat rest as a ritual, something inside you shifts from confusion into receptivity. This is also the moment to stop drowning your stillness with stimulation. No music, just to fill the space. No scrolling to distract your mind. No forcing conversation to avoid your own thoughts. Let the quiet be a receiver. Let the stillness be the antenna. It's in that nothingness that the real messages come through. Because here's the truth most people never realize. The faster you stop fighting your rest, the quicker your clarity returns. You're not giving up by lying down. You're giving in to your own soul's timing, to your own inner wisdom, to your own truth rising to the surface. And when you treat these moments with reverence instead of pressure, the heaviness begins to unravel from the inside out. Clarity doesn't come from pushing, it comes from allowing. Most people numb it, you don't, and that makes you rare. One of the hardest parts about this phase is how isolating it feels. You look around, and it seems like everyone else is functioning, moving, grinding through their routines, while you feel like you're made of concrete. But what you don't see behind closed doors is that countless people feel this same heaviness. They just ignore it. They push past it. They drown it out with noise, habits, distractions, anything that stops them from facing the truth rising inside them. But you're not built like that. You feel things earlier, deeper, and more honestly than most people ever allow themselves to. You don't numb it. You don't bury it. You don't pretend it's not happening. Instead, you allow the feeling to come to the surface, and that alone makes you different. That alone makes you sensitive in a way most people never experience. And this sensitivity isn't a flaw. It's a sign of spiritual maturity. It's proof that you have an inner world loud enough to guide you and a soul alive enough to refuse the easy way out. You're lying down all day, not because you're broken, but because your soul is honest, brave, sensitive, awake. It takes courage to feel what others run from. It takes intuition to sense misalignment before it becomes chaos. It takes awareness to notice when something inside you is shifting, even when the outside world looks the same. You're not defective, you're ahead. You're feeling the energetic truth of your life before it becomes visible to everyone else. You're not alone in this. You're not the only one feeling it, but you are among the few who are actually listening. And the ones who feel it first are always the ones who grow the most. There always comes a moment, quietly, subtly, almost without warning, when the heaviness that once held you still starts to loosen its grip. You don't wake up with a sudden burst of motivation or a dramatic shift in your mood. Instead, it often begins with something small, the ability to sit up a little easier, the desire to open a window, the thought of doing one tiny task without feeling overwhelmed. This is the first sign that your unconscious has finished its inner rearranging. When the deeper parts of you are reorganizing, your energy gets pulled inward. It's like all your power goes underground to rebuild the foundation you're standing on. That's why you couldn't push through before. All your energy was already in use. But once that inner construction finishes, energy begins returning to the surface on its own. You don't have to force it. You don't have to hype yourself up. You don't have to pretend. It rises naturally, like the first light after a very long night. Think of this period like an internal winter. Everything goes quiet, slow, heavy, and dormant because something is being rebuilt underneath. And when the inner winter ends, you don't suddenly sprint into spring, you thaw, you soften, you come back to life in layers. The return of energy isn't explosive, it's gentle. One day, you feel the desire to do something small. Another day, you feel a bit more clear. Then you notice your thoughts untangling, your focus sharpening, and your emotional fog lifting. It's important to recognize this shift when it happens, because it means the rest phase wasn't pointless. It was productive in the most invisible way. Rest doesn't take energy from you, it returns the energy you lost while living out of alignment. And when the unconscious is done reorganizing, it sends that energy back into your body slowly and steadily, giving you the strength you need to step into your next chapter with clarity rather than confusion. This is the moment when you finally start feeling like yourself again, except with more awareness, more honesty, and more inner stability than before. The heaviness fades, not because you forced it, but because the part of you that needed rest has finally completed the work you didn't even know was happening. And when your energy comes back after that kind of inner transformation, it comes back cleaner, stronger, and ready for a life that actually matches who you're becoming. Let's be honest, the shame hits harder than the tiredness. There's a moment that happens when you've been lying down too long. Your body is still, but your mind starts spiraling. You start judging yourself more harshly than anyone else ever could. You replay every task you didn't get done, every message you didn't respond to, every responsibility you feel like you're dropping. And even though your body physically cannot get up, your mind starts attacking you for it. This is the part that hurts the most, not the heaviness, not the fatigue, the shame. Because you're not just lying there, you're lying there wondering why you can't force yourself to move like everyone else seems to. You wonder why even the simplest things feel impossible. You wonder why you can't snap out of it. And the worst part is that quiet fear whispering, "Is this who I am now?" But here's the truth you need to hear clearly. Nothing is wrong with you. Nothing. That wave of guilt you feel, it's not a flaw, it's conditioning. It's the voice of a society that taught you your worth is measured by how much you get done, how productive you are, how on you can remain even when your soul is grieving, exhausted, or transforming. You were taught to feel bad for resting. You were programmed to feel guilty for pausing. The shame you feel right now isn't coming from your spirit. It's coming from expectations you outgrew a long time ago. People don't tell you this, but guilt is actually the final stage before release. It's the last barrier between who you used to be and who you're becoming. That guilt rises up because it's being forced out. It doesn't belong in the life you're trying to move toward, and so it comes to the surface to burn off. The guilt isn't proof of failure, it's proof that you're shedding the version of you that lived for everyone else. You're not weak for lying down. You're not failing because you need rest. You're not disappointing anyone by honoring your limits. What you're actually doing is letting yourself feel the truth your body has been holding for far too long. And here's the part no one talks about. The people who feel this guilt the strongest are the ones who have carried the most. The ones who've been holding themselves together for years. The ones who never allowed themselves to fall apart. The shame hits them harder because they've been performing strength for so long that rest feels like betrayal. But it's not betrayal, it's freedom. It's the moment your soul says, you don't need to earn your right to be human. You're not lying down because you're losing the battle. You're lying down because you're finally stepping out of survival mode. And when that guilt breaks, when it dissolves and stops gripping your chest, what comes after is something incredibly powerful. A sense of inner permission. Permission to rest without apologizing. Permission to exist without performing. Permission to choose yourself before the world chooses for you. That's why this moment matters. This isn't you giving up. This is you giving yourself back to yourself. And the moment the shame loosens its hold, you will realize something profound. You are never falling behind. You are finally slowing down enough to hear your own truth. This lie-down era is also isolation, and it's intentional. One of the most confusing parts of this phase is how your desire to be around people suddenly disappears. It's not just that you're tired, it's not that you don't feel like it, it's deeper than that. It's a complete shutdown of your social appetite, a sudden instinct to pull away from conversations, plans, invitations, and even the simplest interactions. You might catch yourself dodging messages, delaying responses, or feeling immediately exhausted at the thought of being around others. And what makes it harder is that you can't explain it, even to yourself. A part of you wonders if you're becoming distant, disconnected, withdrawn in a way you've never been before. You might feel guilty for not showing up, not replying, not being energetically available. But the truth is, this particular kind of isolation has nothing to do with avoidance and everything to do with alignment. When your inner world is going through a recalibration this deep, your soul instinctively reduces outside interference. Every voice, every opinion, every emotional signal from someone else pulls you slightly away from your own center, and your spirit can't afford that right now. This phase demands clarity. It demands focus. It demands that you hear yourself before you hear anyone else. That's why conversations feel draining. That's why noise feels overwhelming. That's why even the presence of people you love can feel like too much. You're not rejecting them, you're returning to yourself. Your soul is creating sacred distance from opinions, from distractions, from everything that pulls you off center. This isolation is not antisocial behavior. It's energetic detox. Your spirit is clearing out the residue of other people's expectations, moods, projections, and needs. Without realizing it, you've been carrying a lot of emotional weight that doesn't actually belong to you. And the only way to release it is through silence and space. space where nobody's energy mixes with yours, where nobody's voice overlaps your intuition, where nobody's presence shifts your inner compass even slightly. This is also why small talk feels impossible, why deep conversations feel too heavy, and why you might get irritated by things that never used to bother you. It's because your emotional bandwidth is being reserved for something more important, your realignment. You don't have extra capacity to perform, to socialize, or to manage other people's energy. Your system is redirecting every ounce of strength inward. And while it can feel lonely, this isn't abandonment, it's preparation. You are being guided into a quiet that recalibrates your nervous system, heals your emotional field, and strengthens the part of you that has been stretched thin for far too long. You're not disappearing from the world. You're retreating into a more authentic version of yourself. And when this phase ends, you'll reconnect, but from a place of truth instead of exhaustion. People who go through profound inner shifts often pass through a period of enforced solitude. It isn't punishment. It isn't regression. It's refinement. It's realignment with who you're becoming. And the moment your soul finishes this deep work, the desire to reconnect will return naturally, not because you should, but because you finally feel whole enough to let the world back in without losing yourself again. If you feel lifeless, it's because you're about to be born into a new one. This phase is one of the most misunderstood parts of a spiritual shift, because on the outside, it looks like nothing is happening. You're lying there with no spark, no push, no inspiration, and instead of seeing it as a phase, you judge it as a flaw. You look at your reflection and think, why don't I feel like myself anymore? Where did my energy go? But what you're actually experiencing is one of the most profound transformations a person can go through. It just happens quietly. Every powerful transformation in nature begins in stillness, not effort. Seeds spend weeks underground in total darkness before they break through the soil. Trees enter long winters where nothing blooms, yet beneath the bark, the next season is being prepared. Even the moon disappears for a time before it starts growing again. And the cocoon looks like death to anyone who doesn't understand metamorphosis. But inside, the caterpillar is completely dissolving, breaking down the old self so the new one can form without interference. You are in that same place. Your lie-down era is your cocoon. It's not a punishment. It's not regression. It's not losing yourself. It's the moment your soul pulls every ounce of energy inward because it needs to rebuild something essential, something you can't see yet. But you will feel the moment it completes. This is why forcing yourself to push through doesn't work right now. You can't outrun a transformation that's happening at the core of your being. You can't outperform a process meant to slow you down. You can't shame yourself back into a version of you that no longer exists. The cocoon is not a setback, it's the sanctuary where your next self is assembled. And as much as this is spiritual, it's also human, it's emotional, it's biological, it's psychological. Exhaustion isn't always symbolic, sometimes it's also chemical or hormonal. Honoring the spiritual message doesn't mean ignoring the physical reality. You're allowed to check in with your body. You're allowed to ask for help. You're allowed to get blood work, speak to a doctor, talk to someone who can support you. There is nothing unspiritual about making sure your body is okay. There is nothing less awakened about choosing to take care of yourself on every level. If you're still watching, I'd like to thank you for your attention. If you enjoyed the content and want to see more, please consider clicking the subscribe button. Your support is very appreciated. Feel free to share your experiences or thoughts in the comments below. Until next time, take care and subscribe for more insightful content.